Hello. So I would like to invite our next speaker, Sari Hildén. So there's been only few people out there who can say they have really changed institutions. And I think a 400-year company is an institution. So one of these rare people is Sari Hildén, who has been changing organizations. So Sari has a degree on computer science from the Helsinki University of Technology. She has been a long time with our industry. And she has been leading some of the remarkably large agile transformations, not limiting to development or software only, but touching and changing the entire organizations. And she's always smiling and always positive. I firmly believe her positive attitude on people and circumstances is the key differentiator. So let me welcome with you to the stage Sari Hildén from Posti.
Hello, and thank you, Marit, for your kind words. I'm going to walk you through with the Posti transformation. So let me share my screen. This has been for me a kind of a 1 year journey because I joined Posti in May last year. So keep that in mind, that that's kind of the time frame that we are talking about when I'm presenting you the Lean-Agile enterprise journey for Posti. I'm going to give you a short update about the Posti. What is Posti, and then what have been doing to change the Posti to an agile company, and then what have been the challenges, and at the end some learnings from this journey. First, about the history. Posti was established in 1638, so almost 400 years ago. And for the first 350 years, we were focusing on delivering the post and parcels to our customers. At year 2000, it became pretty clear that this is not what we can continue doing if we want to survive for the next 350 years. And that's why we started a lot of new transformation programs at Posti. And I have a video to explain more what we do today at Posti and how are we transforming.
We can't see your slides currently. Can you put the sharing on from your computer? Yeah, now they are.
They are now seen. Okay.
Yeah, if you put it just the full screen.
Okay. So now you are able to see.
Yeah, now it's perfect.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's go to the video now, please, Mika. Okay, so what can you do today? One of these big transformation programs is Change to Agile. And what we are trying to reach with that one is that we would be able to deliver the maximum.
Sorry
Yes?
to disrupt. You need to share your slides again.
Oh, okay. Thank you. The share button is in gray, so just let me know when you can see it.
It's not going to be visible. Maybe we'll do it in the way that I will share the slides here if we don't get them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Technical things happen, so maybe Maaret or Mika can help with this one because we want this to succeed. So sorry, Sari, about these technical hassles.
No problem. That's why we do have backup plans.
Yeah, I think we have the slides now. Can you, Sari, comment that you can see?
Yeah,
that?
I can see the slide.
Okay, so let's go with that and just tell me when to change the slide. I will do it.
Yeah, just browse a couple of slides ahead. Go a little bit further. I can see that. Yeah. So the next slide, please. Okay. So what are our goals? No, not that one. The previous one, please. Okay, so we are trying to reach the maximum value, customer value in shortest sustainable lead time with highest possible quality. That requires, first of all, change in our mindset. So we need to change the collaboration, and we have to be able to respect each other and work in a transparent way. Also, the way we are working is that we need to change the continuous improvement and also learn the whole time from the things that we are doing, and increase our ability to adapt, and then have a clear ownerships and trust between each other. And that also requires us to change our operational model. So building this strategy alignment with the work that we are doing daily basis is one thing. And then establishing the communities that we can learn from the things that we are doing across the company, not only within our own teams. And then we are changing from the push mode to the pull mode, meaning that the teams can select by themselves when they are ready to start new things. And also this cross-functional self-organizing teams. This is the key in our transformation. And then changing from the huge waterfall project to incremental development. And of course, that will affect on our culture. But once we understand and deliver agile values and principles, that will definitely change the way how our culture is built. And next slide, please. This implementation journey that we have done started, like I said, in May last year. And once I joined Posti, I started with making a couple of interviews. And please click once the slide. It turned out that the majority of the development work at Posti was done in the projects. So we had a long project that were driven with the waterfall model. We also had already a couple of agile teams, but still they had their own ways of working. And then we have very many different vendors, all again having their own ways of working, as well as we had various product and portfolio management practices. So what we started to do is laying the foundations. So we formed the transformation team, having 5 members in the beginning. Each of the members had their own responsibility areas within the company. We introduced kind of starting packages. So what should the teams do when they want to take the agile ways of working in place? We also introduced the coaches for the teams, and then also other ways of getting the competence built, I have another slide explaining the competence building, so I'm going to come back on that one shortly. So the next thing that we started to do was building this team and product and vendor management practices. We defined the clear roles and responsibilities, the team practices. So what are the best practices if you have never done anything in Agile way? So what could be the ones that you could try to use? And then we have the product management guidance as well, and then how to get the vendors engaged to work together with Posti teams. And of course, we wanted to highlight this transparency, which is the key in Agile world. So we kind of, as a starting point, everything the team was doing was in Jira, and those teams, Jira projects, they were always private. But then we get that kind of a decision that all the new Jira projects will be open as a public, and that was the first step towards the transparency. The second things that we started to work was about this portfolio management part. We defined the portfolios. We got kind of 5 different portfolios defined for the Posti, and then we found out the value streams that would kind of do the work, development work to enhance these portfolios. One of the key things towards the transparency was this big room planning. That was something that we started to do in January time, and already with the first pilot big room planning, it became pretty clear that this is the kind of key to resolve these problems that we have had, that teams are not able to see what business wants, and vice versa. Business doesn't really know what the teams are doing. And that was a huge success at our doing, and then we were in short time we were able to introduce that in quite a many teams and streams that were working together. Along that one, we also introduced a demo concept, so public demos to show what the teams are doing, and also included there the stakeholder feedback. So again, a key element towards the transparency work at Posti. We have also defined the portfolio management practices and trying to find out the supporting tool for that one, so that we really can see what are the other teams doing across the company, not just only what my neighbor team is doing, but also what are the other ones doing at Posti, to avoid the similar work to be done across in different parts of the organization. And then one key element is also this innovation practices. We have now we have defined the innovation process and working on that one so that we can do how do we manage the innovation in the company level. But that's something that we also try to get into to the team work level, so that it would be something that everyone would constantly do when you do your own work. And the final layer here is this organizational agility and continuous learning culture. So there we are now taking the step to introduce this time for learning, improvement, and innovation. We are piloting that with a couple of teams at the moment, and hoping that to be something that people evaluate and start utilizing more broadly. Also, one thing that we need to work with the HR is that our hiring and rewarding practices are supporting Agile. And then get these other functions that just not the product development on board. So we are having the sales, marketing, customer services, and support and legal teams also joining in the Agile transformation right now. And there we are also working to get the collaboration across the business units working better. So please click the next. So these are all the activities that we have been now doing, but not kind of the way that we finish one and then start the next one, but we create we create for them kind of initial set, and then improve that based on the feedback as the working in Agile manner as we expect all the teams also working who are implementing Agile. and working Agile way. Okay, so then let's go to the competence building. So please take the next slide. In the competence building, our target is to get the Agile mindset inbuilt, and also the Posti way of working to be introduced to all people at Posti. And as we haven't selected any framework, but we are utilizing many of the different frameworks, we also need to get the people to understand the language, because we are utilizing the mixture of the frameworks at Posti at the moment. And this all we are doing by introducing trainings, of course. We have the e-learning, and then we have the classroom trainings, but then on top of those ones, we have changed the classroom trainings to online trainings today. We have a coaching available, so coaches can help the new teams or people who are taking the new Agile ways of working to in use. So how to utilize these practices and how to get started. So there we are heavily supporting the teams on that one. We have also built the communities. Today we have Scrum Master for communities for different roles, like for Scrum Masters, product owners, and business owners. And then, as a common guidance, we have created a SharePoint site where everyone can find guidance or best practices related to their own practices. So we have own sites for teams, portfolio management, or product management, and then we have sites for the HR, legal, finance, and leadership, and so forth. And one good way of kind of spreading this Agile knowledge across the company is this Agile games. This is a fun way to get people to get curious and joining us to see what are these Agile practices that we are really promoting today. So we have selected one topic and then invited people for a half an hour session where we, first of all, we play a game, Agile game, and then after the game, we kind of go through what were the learnings from that game. And of course, we are participating, or we are having a lot of events at Posti, and then I try to make sure that in every event there's a part of for the Agile practices, so kind of promoting the Agile way of working also within the events. For the courses, we have 2 fundamental courses, so business agility for basics and business agility advanced. And then we have a couple of role-based trainings introduced. So we have own training for Scrum Masters, product owners, and business owners. And then we have a training for the leaderships. And of course, now when we have quite a lot of vendors or partners who have an Indian background, so we introduced a cultural training for Indian culture so that we can improve our collaboration with the people from India by understanding what is their culture and what are the things that they evaluate. And of course, for the tools and practices, if needed, we can go quickly through the guidance for the tools and practices that we expect teams to use. So that's about that's for the competence building. So if you can take the next slide. This is a timeline what has happened during the since May last year. As mentioned, the starting point. We had I was doing kind of interviews for the top management and of course as well as the team side. And at that time we had 15 Agile teams at Posti. By September we had formed this core transformation team having 5 members. We also had introduced a common language and guidance, and then we introduced the Agile contracts. So whenever we get new teams to work with the Posti from our vendors, we would have a ready-made contracts how to hire them to support the Agile practices. And then also we got the customer service joined at that time to our transformation program. And we have had our first courses and got 25 people trained and 40 were completing the e-learning course. By next month, we had 3 Agile coaches working at Posti. New Agile teams started. There were 3 new Agile teams started. And then we introduced our first community and had our first innovation day, and then defined these portfolio canvases, and we got 5 canvases defined. In November, we started with Agile Games, got 100 people trained and 200 were completed the e-learning. And then we were going through the value streams, so had identified 11 different value streams to support our portfolios. And then we started with the portfolio tool pilot number 1. By December, we had got more people trained, more coaches, and then also the sales and marketing joining the Agile transformation. In January, we started with this big room planning concept. Started 1 team, and then as that was kind of a huge success, then we have, in a short time frame, we got plenty of other streams started to do the big room planning. We also started with our portfolio management workshops, and then had at that time 5 Agile coaches to support the teams. And then we started to do this, reserve the time for learning and introduce the innovation practices. In February, we got this Jira Open for All milestone, so that we were really able to see what were going on with different teams who were using Jira. We started a second portfolio tool pilot because the first one wasn't too successful, so we wanted to find another tool for the portfolio management. And the second tool, what we are right now piloting, still is kind of much more promising than the first one. We had first 3 demos, and then 6 innovation teams working in Posti level to work with their ideas and get them developed as a new innovations. And today we have 3 communities actively working. Our core transformation team has grown to 10 people. We had a new Agile teams, 28 teams, and then having this big room planning with 10 different value streams. Had 3 portfolio management workshops, and these value streams, they are all doing the demos, and then we have got almost 400 people trained at the moment. So that's how far we have got until now. And of course, this is something that is improving all the time, and we get more people joining. And as now we have seen the success stories across the company, then it's much easier to get new teams joining and new people joining on the Agile transformation. Can we move to the next slide, please? The opportunities and challenges. First of all, I mentioned that we hadn't selected any framework. And as we now kind of use the combination from SAFe, LESS, Google, Spotify, and whatever we can find, it's kind of good to take the best practices out of them. But on the downside is that we don't have a common language, but we have to create that by ourselves. We also need to create the trainings, because we have to kind of have the training that is really supporting our way of working, and we can't get any ready-made trainings from the framework. That has turned out to be really good, because now we have the trainings that are really suitable for our framework, and we get the people to also really learn the Posti way of working when they participate on the trainings. And with that, we have got the good help of our partners with whom we are organizing these training courses. Next kind of thing is in the roles. We have a lot of different roles at Posti, but now as we started from the kind of scratch, we were able to define the clear roles that are supporting the Agile practices and the responsibilities for those roles. people have really liked this empowerment and self-organization that is supported by the Agile. But the problem is, or worry for some people, are that some existing roles are not anymore relevant, so they need to kind of find a new role for themselves, and this is causing some challenges, of course. And to learn new skills and competencies is always hard, and especially if people don't have time, which is the normal thing at today's world. And also, once you have taken the new roles and skills, that you really adapt them to your own area, so that kind of just not take everything as is, but adapt them so that they are really working in your area. The communication is always a challenge, but right now we have kind of introduced a couple of new channels, and the positive side on that one is that we can really use these new channels also for the other type of communications. We are using traditional news, and we are utilizing our internet, but then on top of that one, we are publishing pretty often videos for our video screens that we have in our working places at Posti. And that has turned out to be a really good channel for sharing the progress of the Agile transformation. And of course, we utilize the old email system and Teams and whatever we can to spread the message. But still, there are some challenges on reaching the audience. So if someone is really not interested or really have time to read all the news that we are pushing, then kind of how to get this information passed through. But repeating the message wherever we can is the kind of key on that one. Then on the ways of working, this Agile ways of working, that has been kept really positive. So this engagement is key here, and then this try and improve and get fast feedback is something that is really making a difference here. Decision making on the set in the right level kind of reduce the amount of decisions that were earlier expected the management to do, and that is also a very positive thing what we have been seeing. And then changing from control to trust. No one likes to be controlled, so trust is much better, and this is something that the Agile way of working will also bring to the organization. But still, how the kind of understanding these values and understanding how it impacts on my own work and dare to try, these are the challenges that we are tackling daily basis. And then we have this resistance to change. That is always when you do a huge transformation or even smaller transformation, there's always people who are resisting the change. But kind of what we have done is that we try to involve the people as much as possible. So whenever it is something related to their own work, they are part of doing the transformation. And then introducing these changes in smaller steps, and then also listening what are the root causes if someone is opposing the change. So it might be something totally different than what they are saying. So finding what are the root causes and then really fix those ones, and not just the symptoms that might be something that you hear when you are talking with the people. But of course, we need to remember that change is hard. And then if you go to the final slide. So what have we learned from here is that simplify things as far as possible, and remember this minimum viable product. Without that, you are not able to kind of get things really progressing. And then splitting the work and not try to introduce too big chunks at once. And pilot and share. If you pilot, you can kind of try small and then share the learnings with other people, and then you can much more easier to share that across the company. And remember to collect the feedback and improve based on the feedback. And what is really important is listen and support. Be there when someone is talking about the challenges and kind of giving the excuses that why it's not possible to do a certain way. Then listen that and then find together the solution for that one. And remember to repeat the message via multiple channels. And the kind of best here is that remember to celebrate the success, share the success stories, and that's how you get people to kind of join in the transformation. So that's my short introduction to Posti journey to Agile company. We have still time for a couple of questions, so please, Marit, share the questions.
So thanks, Sari, about your presentation. We had some slight difficulties for people to see your presentation. So is it possible that we can share your presentation as PDF for the?
Yes.
Okay, good. We organized that.
Yeah. Marit, we are not able to hear you.
There is also a question on the question that is there going to be a recording of today's event? And that's actually the case. So this will be recorded and it will somehow distributed to the participants. There is also a question, how do you engage teams outside IT to apply agile ways of working? So Sari, if you can kind of answer to that.
Yeah, actually what we have started, we didn't start with the IT teams. We started with our business groups. So I discussed with the business group leaders and then found out what are the kind of teams that we should be engaging. And then we just contacted the team leads and or project managers who were leading different programs and sharing the kind of best ideas. What is this agility resolving by them? And when we started with their biggest problems, it's much easier for them to kind of adapt the new way of working than just kind of telling that, hey, this is a new way of working, please try it. But we selected a concrete problem that they had at their current way of working, and then with that, it's much easier to get them engaged.
Mm. Great. And then there is another question about the portfolio management. So there is actually a couple of questions related to that. So the first one is that which model do you use for agile portfolio management, and is that of close to any standard framework? And then the second question that which tools do you use for portfolio management?
Okay.
And this comes from Evelina Vuoli.
Okay. So first of all, we are kind of the SAFE is the one which provides the best guidance for the portfolio management layer. The other ones have something, but it's not so clear. So what we have done is that we have taken the SAFE guidance and then turned that to Posti way of working. And again, using this simplification. So we have pretty simple model and define the pretty simple workflows or this flow and steps in the flow that we expect the portfolio management team to follow, and based on that one we have a kind of clear roles also, who is doing and what within these steps, and that's something that we are now introducing at Posti. So nothing complicating, nothing really hard, but easy to understand and easy to execute, and that's kind of the key in that part. And the tooling side, we haven't selected a portfolio management tool yet, but what we are right now piloting is called Nection. It's a former Agile fund, or Agile fund, I think was the former name if someone has been using that one. But today it's called Nection, and it's kind of again a simple tool, doesn't have any fancy reports or anything like that, but it supports the needs that you have. So having the clear priorities, what are the things that you need to do next, and having the simple information within these initiatives or whatever you're calling them, that's kind of something that is easy to use and easy to see the progress via that tool.
Okay. And then there is still a lot of questions. I think we have still time for a few more questions. So one of the questions that got really a lot of votes is Elena is asking, could you give some examples of agile games that worked best?
Okay. The first one, I think everyone knows this, is this marshmallow challenge. So you kind of keep them thinking what is the objective that you want to reach, and then you ask the teams to build the highest tower having the marshmallow on top of the tower. And what normally happens is that people start building these very huge towers, but then once they put their objective, meaning this marshmallow on top of the tower, then it collapses. And then you are in the starting point just 2 minutes before the time stops. So that is a really liked game, and that we have utilized. But then we have used this throw the cat. So how do you do the estimation there? Or then what was the but then, anyway, there are plenty of different games there, and you can easily find them from the internet.
Okay, and maybe we have time still for one more question. Philip has asked, how do you measure that you have reached the goals, more specifically the goal of agile mindset? How do you see the progress here?
Yeah, that's something that you can't really measure, except that once you talk with the people, you really hear whether they understand the agile mindset or not. So that is something that I haven't found a way to measure it yet. But if someone has a good tip, then I'm listening and happy to use it.
Mm. Yeah. So Sari, we would like to thank you for the presentation. I think it gave us a really nice view on what is going on in Posti and how you are actually able to transform that kind of institution.
Yes, sorry, technical problems. I think Mari dropped out. So thank you also from my behalf.